Hello everyone, and welcome back to another week of the Backlog Bunker. It's been a while, but that's not really important right now. Right now, let's just talk about some updates on games I've been playing. Like, for example, Mega Man 8, a game that I was enjoying at first, and then quickly began to not. I can't exactly say that I have nostalgia for the NES titles, considering the fact that I played them for the first time, like 2-3 months ago? But at the same time, it feels odd to me just how consistently I liked going through those games, and how much I don't enjoy going through the non-NES titles. I kinda skipped over talking about it on the bunker because I just didn't have the time to when I last made them. But I did play Mega Man 7, and I really hated it. You can find my review on Backloggd if you really want to know why, but the TLDR is that it wasn't fun, and it was ugly. Which meant that Mega Man 8 made a very good first impression on me by being fun and looking pretty good. Yeah, the story's not great and the voice acting is pretty shitty, but I'll always get some enjoyment out of calling him Dr. Wily, so that's something. But then, something terrible happened. I played the second half of the game. It's actually more like the second 2/3 of the game, because when I say half, I mean the other half of the Robot Masters and the Wily Castle. I don't know if there was just a collective brain aneurysm that happened at Capcom while they were making this game, but for some reason, all 4 of the latter half of the Robot Master stages are far worse than the first 4. I am by no means the first person to point out the fact that Wily Castle 1 in Mega Man 8 is, put lightly, a big crock of shit, but I need you to understand that it was so bad, I considered just dropping Mega Man 8 at that point. And mind you, I'm not treating the Mega Man franchise like I am Final Fantasy, where I am dedicating myself to at least trying to beat every game. If I don't like a Mega Man game, I won't play it. But at the same time, I also have integrity as a critic, so at that point when I'm so close to the end, I figured I might as well finish it, but I need you to know just how close I got. Chances are I'm playing the footage of Wily Castle 1 over this at some increased speed so you can see all of my attempts at doing it. And I don't keep my mic on when I record footage for the bunker, because it's really just background footage for me, and it would be harder to speak over myself talking. But there were many wails of anguish to be had, and if I recorded any of them with my clip recorder, then you'll see them here.
Jump, 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 jump. Ready.
This is all to say, yeah, I didn't like Mega Man 8, and it was made worse by the fact that I had initially really liked it a lot. At the time of recording, I have already started Mega Man 9. I'm not going to talk about it on this bunker because I just don't want to overstuff it, but so far, things aren't looking great. I'd hate to be a Mega Man doomer, but we're approaching the 10th entry of this franchise, and if 10 ends up being bad, that means this series will be half made up of just bad games, which is intensely disappointing, and puts a lot of pressure on 11 and upcoming 12. But I can't say it's all negative, given that, as a little bit of an aside, I'm in my final semester of college right now, and I plan on potentially making a Mega Man fan game as my final project, which is part of why I'm glad I've done all this studying, even of the bad games. And much like with the last game that I made, I would want to document this on the bunker, with actual footage this time probably, since it's not my own IP. So there's a non-0% chance that there's an entire section of the bunker for the next few months that is me stealing all the good parts from good Mega Man games, and making sure I absolutely do not have the parts of the bad Mega Man games. But that still remains to be seen, so don't quote me on that, or hold me to it, because I still haven't made the Rabbids video. In other news, I beat Persona 4 again. More specifically, I beat Golden, as opposed to my original playthrough, which was the original game. And much like with Mega Man 7 and 8, there's a little bit too much to say about that to say it all in the bunker, so if you're really interested, you can read my review on Backloggd. But again, to TLDR it, I am not happy. Persona 4 is already a game that I am fond of but do not think is very good, and Golden did not shift the needle positively at all. If I didn't see Persona games and their remakes as completely different products, I would actually say the needle has shifted negatively, because there's a lot of additions to Golden that I do not like. And basically all of them have to do with the story, more specifically, the villains and the ending. Now, Persona 4 has a lot of villains, a few too many villains one might say. By the time we get to Adachi, who I like, we're already 2 twist villains deep, and that's 1 more twist villain than really any story needs. And even just in the original Persona 4, there are still 2 other twist villains we haven't gotten to. And so in comes strolling Marie, completely hijacking Persona 4's narrative for God knows what reason, who becomes yet another twist villain, but an even worse twist villain, because not only is she a twist villain, she's a twist villain that pretends like she's been a whole character this whole time. I'm of the belief that anyone who's a fan of Marie either has literally no taste or likes tsunderes way too much. because Marie's tsundere moments are so few and far between that I would imagine that even a normal tsundere fan wouldn't be a big fan of Marie, so you would have to be literally starving to get anything from her. Partially because of this, on my replay of Persona 4, which is just, again, playing Golden, I've realized that Persona 4's villains are kinda bad. Now, I can't lay all the blame on Marie, this isn't really her fault because they were kinda bad in the original too, but she makes it worse because she does the same thing the other two do that makes it bad. This is yet another case where playing 4 has made me reevaluate 5, because when 5 has its villain exposit its lessons to you, it only does it the one time, with the one villain. A bad villain, but still only one time. But Persona 4 does what Backloggd does, but with Amano Sagiri, Marie, and Izanami. And again, it's much worse in Izanami's case than with Vialdi, because with Izanami, she is literally nothing before the very end of the game. Backloggd is a bad twist, but at least he is literally present throughout the rest of the game. His reasoning makes no sense, but at least he pretends to have reasoning. But with Izanami, you get to the end of the game, and she goes, haha, wow, you found out I'm a character. Alright, I'm a villain now, and then you beat her, and then the game ends. And the first time through, this just didn't really dawn on me. But having already played Persona 4, and knowing the Izanami twist is going to come, and having done Marie, who's supposed to foreshadow Izanami, not only did I have more time to realize that Izanami's a bad twist villain, but I had more time to realize that Izanami's just a bad villain. And then I can't even take a spoonful of sugar with that medicine, because the gameplay of Persona 4 Golden is the exact same as Persona 4, which sucked! Meaning that upon beating Persona 4, I realized that I kinda wasted my time. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Yes, Golden is technically a better version of Persona 4, but if someone told me they were going to play Persona 4, not only would I not necessarily advocate for Golden, but if they had already played Persona 4, I wouldn't even tell them to play Golden, I would explicitly tell them not to. Because not only are they not missing out on anything, but the extra month the game gives you of time doesn't even help anything because you still don't have enough time to do every social link. I bought Persona 3 Reload because I got it for like 20 bucks, which I thought was a pretty good steal. But you know what I'm not going to do with Reload? Play Episode Aegis, because unless I absolutely love Reload, there would be no reason for me to play Aegis when I'm going to play Fez anyway. I say this to say, when Persona 4 Revival comes out, do not be surprised when nothing that people want in the game actually makes it in. That secret social link you all wanted to find, not going to be in there. If you're lucky, Marie will be DLC, sold to you for $40, also including a secret Joker boss fight for good measure. Honestly, I kinda lost track of what I was complaining about. I hate the Persona franchise, that's basically where I ended up. Playing these games is an endless humiliation ritual for me, and I'm not sure why I expect them to still be good. But, speaking of things expecting to be good, I got back into playing XCOM, so maybe I'll just end up with another like 100-something hours in the game, and you might hear about it in the bunker, and you might not. Really, I'm only here to say that I still advocate for War of the Chosen's gameplay because it's still just a great game. But what I was doing was I was playing the Long War mod, and the intent of Long War is supposed to be a longer war. And while it certainly achieved that, I don't think it was very good. I appreciated battles taking longer, that part was cool. What I was not a fan of was the overworld. What the overworld did was it took the classic gameplay loop of XCOM, which is battle, overworld, and said, battle, overworld. Because in Long War, you spend way more time with your thumb up your ass than you did in XCOM proper. So instead of looking for valuable places to get supplies and stuff like that across the overworld, you instead sit in one place and jerk off for a really, really, really long time. And then, if, God forbid, a battle comes your way that you actually want to take, because it gives you something useful, like literally anything that's not a resistance operative, chances are you won't get to do the battle anyway, because it has a really short infiltration time, and if you don't get to 100% infiltration, chances are everyone's gonna die on that mission. And if by some miracle you do have enough time to get a full infiltration in, you still have to spend more time jerking off because you actually have to wait for the infiltration to happen. There is a specific kind of freak that Long War is made for, and I am not that freak, so I didn't like it. It also didn't help that I got soft locked, so if that wasn't an omen to stop playing it, then I don't know what was. So I'm just gonna be doing a normal playthrough after this, so yeah. And then we're finally brought to the weekly topic, and honestly, I don't have anything specific that I want to talk about this week, so I just grabbed a bunch of smaller topics and collected them all under what I'm calling Industry Rod. And I'll try not to make it too obvious from my tone of voice, but there was one of these that I'm much more excited to talk about than the others. The first one is that Highguard is releasing Monday to absolutely thunderous shrugs. Now, far be it from me to make fun of Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards, but I find it very, very interesting that the flagship title for the Game Awards is a game that literally no one asked for. And by the looks of things, no one's gonna play either. And I don't just mean because it looks like a boring pile of shit. What I mean is that I literally cannot play Highguard, because I was going to try it, just for fun, you know? But as I went to the Steam page for Highguard, I noticed a little message that seemed very familiar to me, because it's the same message that popped up for Battlefield, which ended up being the reason that I never ended up trying out that game. And the message is that Secure Boot and TPM 2.0 need to be on your computer. Now, as a computer scientist, I should know what these things are, but admittedly, I don't. However, I don't need to know what these things are in full to know for a fact that any game that asks me to change something on my computer, the device itself, to be able to play it, is a hard no. And if the reason for these requirements is for anti-cheat software, then the answer becomes an emphatic no. Guys, I promise you that nobody's gonna care enough about Highguard to be cheating day one. You have time to figure it out. If I can play other multiplayer games just fine on my PC, then what's your excuse? Get on it. In other news, City of the Wolves is getting 6 whole DLC characters, each a month away from each other, and 4 of them were revealed in the trailer. And that trailer wasn't very good. Some might even call it the dreaded S word, and I don't mean shit. There's close to a few, billion reasons why SNK shouldn't have had ChatGPT make a trailer for them, but one of them is most importantly that it just looks bad. A lot of people will say that you can't use the "it looks bad" argument against AI because eventually it won't look bad. But if that's happening, it ain't happening soon. Could the City of the Wolves trailer have been edited by a human? Yeah, of course it could have. But the City of the Wolves trailer being edited by an AI means that things like a fist coming out while the rest of the wall like sinks into itself become a very, very, very clear slop. Excuse my French. Because the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter whether a human or an AI made this trailer, because at the end of the day, it looks like shit. The fact that it's an AI just makes it worse. There's a lot of people saying that the AI trailer is making them not buy City of the Wolves for, again, a billion different reasons, but for me, it's a lot less complicated than that. In my weary old age, I've been around the block enough times to know what desperation looks like, and if this is what desperation for SNK looks like, then I think that they can deal with whatever financial rot comes their way. If this is what causes SNK to start going down the shitter, then they kinda deserved it, didn't they? But speaking of companies going down the shitter, what's going on with RGG these days? You know, making Kiwami 3 potentially the worst game ever made, the whole fan base, you know, basically quitting on them. Honestly, the whole franchise is looking in a bad place right now, and I think you people kind of deserve it. Far be it from me to dance on the graves of RGG fans, considering the fact that I'm literally playing Judgment right now. I didn't talk about it in the bunker because I didn't have anything like substantive to talk about. The combat's really good. If all Yakuza games had played like this, maybe I would have enjoyed the franchise. But I think the RGG situation is pretty indicative of why fanbases need to not be so gung-ho about standing behind certain companies. There are things RGG does that I like. Their entire method of how to put out games quickly is something that I think that the entire industry needs to copy, like, immediately. However, you will never hear a single word out of my mouth that ever defends RGG as a company, because at the end of the day, RGG is a company, and companies are fallible. In fact, their entire design under capitalism means that one day, they will fuck up. It is functionally impossible for a company to go its entire lifespan without making a decision that turns away its customer base. So I am baffled by just how many tweets I see of people being like, man, I invested so much into this franchise, what's going on right now? When that kind of sounds like you did it to yourself. I'm pretty heavily invested in the Sonic franchise, and when I found out that Frontiers was the way it was, and frankly the way it still is, I didn't hang my head in shame and fucking cry about it, at least not for a very long time. I just shook my head, said damn that's unfortunate, and kept it moving. I still like the Sonic franchise, but I accept when the thing that comes out of it is shit. I want the things I like to be good and I wouldn't settle for anything less. A bad thing coming out doesn't make all of my previous investment worth nothing. All that previous investment is in things that already exist, and experiences I already had. If one spin-off game and Kiwami 3 sucking dick was all it took for you to be like, oh, my investment in the Yakuza franchise is ruined, then did you ever really like the Yakuza franchise? Now, I understand that it's a little bit different because games are literally getting delisted. However, as I already pointed out, you still had the experiences, so unless you've literally never played Yakuza 3, in which case, again, you wouldn't be a fan in the first place, there is no reason to act like Kiwami 3 is the end of everything. Frankly, I'm more surprised you didn't see this coming. Now, spoilers for Kiwami 3, so skip ahead a few seconds if you don't want to hear it, but did you really think they weren't going to retcon some deaths? They just put out Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. The dog is beating you at chess, and he has been using the same rook for the past 5 years. At some point, you just gotta see it coming, right? Now, admittedly, I'm a little bit of a biased source when it comes to this. Of course, I would advocate for a bunch of Yakuza fans being mad about something. I don't like Yakuza fans. So why do I think Yakuza fans deserve this? Well, for the simple reason that they committed the gravest sin of all. They annoyed me personally. Maybe if you people had some fucking standards, and you weren't rushing to my comment section to defend Yakuza 6 of all games, you wouldn't be getting so much slop nowadays. I hope this teaches all of you a lesson about humility, and knowing that things can always get worse. If this sounds petty and vindictive, then good, get out of here.